This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about Autism is a Fixable Disease. Part 2, Autism is a Mitochondrial Insufficiency Syndrome. And let me explain how we come about that and know that. Mitochondria are touchy little devils, and they really like their fuel fed to them in a particular fashion and not to get overwhelmed. But somewhere along the line, mitochondria get touchy, and we're not quite sure what that touchiness is. My suspicion is that maybe part of many what parents of autism know is that too much sugar and sweet makes their kids worse, and fructose floods into your liver and overwhelms your liver, making the mitochondria of the liver damaged. That could be part of it, sugar, but that's all conjecture. What we do know, though, is that in autistic children, their mitochondria aren't able to handle the flood of calories, or basically comes down to electrons. And in the electron transport chain, those electrons don't have any place to go. Something about the mitochondria is damaged, but those electrons escape. And they attach to oxygen, making reactive oxygen species. Now, those reactive oxygen species are dangerous. They damage many other cells, and so we have many backup mechanisms to neutralize them. The first is an enzyme called superoxide dismutase, which is all over the place in the mitochondria in the cell. And that converts that reactive oxygen species to hydrogen peroxide. Autistic children have a very high level of superoxide dismutase, and that's not a good thing. It's an inducible enzyme, and that means it's being dramatically induced. Okay, that's step one. Back up to that, then to soak up peroxide, we have an enzyme called catalase. And catalase is meant to help neutralize peroxide, and it does. But it gets used up. And autistic children have low levels, dramatically, of catalase. Okay, next backup system is glutathione. Glutathione is your natural antioxidant. It's meant to be everywhere. We all need glutathione. Glutathione will also neutralize peroxide. And it does. And guess what autistic kids have? Dramatically lower levels of glutathione. That's indicating the stress they're under. And even then, if they get overwhelmed, then you start making the hydroxyl ion, OH negative. And that's the uber enemy. That's the one you've been trying to keep it from happening. And that oxidizes membranes. And it makes compounds that are dangerous. And in oxidizing, it most attacks membranes that have double bonds in them. And the plasmalogen molecule that provides some 70% of the shrink wrapping around nerve cells, around the axons, what we call myelin, soaks up peroxide and soaks up the hydroxyl ion and captures it. Wonderful. Except that you lose a whole molecule of plasmalogen, making the shrink wrapping around the axon damaged. And we can measure malondialdehyde. All four of those things can be measured. And we can show that that's what's going on. So it starts first. The first damaging effect of autism is a malfunctioning mitochondria. Well, can we help it function better? Well, yes, we can. We can give NAD as a vitamin. We can give acetylcarnitine as a supplement that helps energy get in to the whole system. We can give extra NAC and N-acetylcysteine to help you make more glutathione. All of those things are helping the mitochondria. And we're going to get into more detail on talk number 4. This is number 2. That'll go into more detail about the supplements we can take. But there are things you can do to help the mitochondria. They don't really help in isolation by themselves, but they're going to help as part of repairing the whole ecosystem. So what's going to work for me? Well, we need to know this physiology and understand it clearly. But the take-home message that any parent of autism needs to hear is, okay, I need to think about how much sugar my child is eating, and I need to understand that that first step can be measured. And if I can find somebody who will actually order those lab tests, we can prove it. Malondialdehyde should be widely available. Catalase is not so widely available always. But those are things you can measure and show, and glutathione is now widely available. So you can show and measure and say, yep, I've got the defects, I can help repair it, and I can show when it's better because they come back to normal. This is Dr. John Whitcomb talking about step 2 in fixing autism. Overwhelming mitochondria. They're a little bit insufficient, and we can help them out a little bit, but let's get on to next week where we study about the next step.